Hello. Great. Well, I'm Allison Pilling, and I wanted to say thank you for everyone, especially just being invited to be part of this virtual global grief conference. I want to send, my warm wishes and definitely gratitude towards Tony Lynch, D. Bird, and Chicken Fox Productions, Nathan and Josh, for making this all happen and bringing all of us presenters, grief practitioners together to provide the space of learning, growing, and healing. So yeah, today I'm going to pull up my slides, hopefully, so that I can share them. We'll get started. I guess I'm coming to you from Belleville, Ontario, Canada. Yeah, so I don't know, it's around 10 a.m. here, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me. Today, I'm going to be speaking about R.I.P, Restoring Inner Peace, 30-day book writing challenge that transformed my life. So as you can see here, R.I.P, Restoring Inner Peace, a young widow's story of being transformed by love. That's actually the book I self-published earlier this year. I'm a first-time author, and I just wanted to share some of this story with you. Some of my personal story, but also the book writing journey. So I just want to say you're in the right place here if you've ever wondered what impact of sharing your story might have on others. So if you've had life experiences or you feel you have a story to share or tell, a lot of people will buy a book because they're either looking for entertainment or something to kind of escape or inspire them. Or they also buy a book because they want to learn something. So specifically, this book writing challenge that I joined and the book that I wrote, I was looking at writing a nonfiction book. So you're also in the right place if you've ever wanted to write a book. So I've also come across, after launching my book, I've come across so many people who actually have manuscripts on their computer or in their journal or something like that that they've been holding on to for years. And they're just either wondering, how do I get this into the world? And even my third bullet here, have you ever wondered how authors actually get published? Do I have to go through a publishing company? Can I self-publish? And sort of what are the options available to me? So, why are we here right at this moment? Why do I do this type of work? Again, it's connecting to that restoring inner peace. So I became a widow at 36 years old. My husband passed away I have two young children. They are actually, my son just turned 13 last week, and my daughter's now 11. When their dad passed away, they were 5 and 6 years old. I will say that his death, though, at the moment it was shocking. It was a surprise to us. Like, who thinks a 36-year-old is going to pass away? But there were some lifestyle choices that were going on that really made made a lot of us kind of wonder if something like this would eventually happen. So within this book, I actually share my journey of what it was like to be married to an alcoholic, the steps we went through, like with having a young family. We did separate for a little bit. My kids and I, after the death of their dad, we moved back to my hometown to be closer to family. We actually lived in 4 different places within a year. Our dog had passed away. We had other family members pass away, changing schools, new friends. So literally, I call them life tsunamis, and like the list kind of goes on and on for that period of my life. But during that time, I had to do some self-reflection. I also left my environmental engineering career. So I had been an environmental engineer in the consulting world for 15 years. And after some of these life transitions were happening, I actually retired or left my engineering career to nurture my family on their grief journey. So I kind of joke that, I was a 38-year-old retired widow. And so now I'm back working again. I went back and retrained myself as a life coach. And I've been using those skills and incorporating them from my academics, my work, and life experiences. And one of the greatest experiences I had took place last year. I joined a 30-day book writing challenge that like literally transformed my life. I never identified as a writer. Again, I was an engineer. I worked in that world. I was a math and numbers girl, spreadsheet girl, task oriented, didn't necessarily identify as a creative or even an author. So what I'll share with you throughout this talk was sort of how I navigated through that and became, an Amazon best-selling author. So one of the things I share within my book is my Transform by Love 4-step action plan. So LOVE it's an acronym that I use to help simplify the steps that I was going through when I was faced with a challenge or a fear, and I needed to step into action. Again, maybe that comes from my process engineering side. I don't know. I like condensing information into clear, simple steps to help reduce overwhelm. And I found a lot of the times when I could anchor to my core values, when I was in a state of fear or feeling stuck or overwhelmed, when I could anchor to what my core values were, it actually made the decision-making process a little easier for me or feel easier for me. So that's what I share in that document. You can download that free at my website, which again, I'll provide the information throughout this talk. And I would say my overall vision, my vision here for our time together is to create this empowerment ripple effect. I focus on one person, one family, one community at a time. And I really think as humans, we share stories. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we heal. That's actually why probably most of us are taking part in this weekend, the Global Grief Conference. We learn from these experiences. It gives us perspective. It also introduces and we start to build rapport and recognize that, we may not be alone in this world. And there are lots of different ways to approach situations in life. So what I'll cover in this talk is, what life is like as an Amazon bestselling author. What the heck do I get up to? How I wrote the book in 30 days. And yes, I did write the book in 30 days. I actually wrote it in less than 30 days. Why I wrote Restoring Inner Peace, some of the fear-busting techniques I share within my book, and then how to connect with me if you're interested in seeing the products or services that I offer, and then also how you can join the 30-day book writing challenge with Joshua Sprague. So I'll be very upfront. I did not develop the book writing challenge. That's Joshua Sprague's creation. But again, it has blessed my life, and I just feel as though it's important to share it with others. So, okay. Yeah, I have to take a deep breath when I see this. I still don't necessarily believe it, to be honest. That's my book. That's a screenshot on Amazon when I reached the #1 bestseller in grief and bereavement. And that was just the start. I also reached bestsellers in books for alcoholism and recovery from alcoholism. I was also on the hot new releases for weeks after my book launch. And I remember even before doing this, I was like scrolling through Amazon. And I was like, imagine if I could be on that front page. That would be so amazing. But I never really dreamed, or I guess I never really visualized that I could actually be that #1 place. But it happened, right? And like I said, I'm a first-time author and I self-publish. So I just want to share this is possible. You can do it. If I can do this, you can do this. So all of this being said, I'm naturally an introvert, believe it or not, even though I've gone into life coaching and I do speak quite often as part of my career. But when I first launched that book, that first 72 hours felt rough. I had anxiety and exhaustion hit me hard. I literally was sitting on my couch with a heating pad on my stomach, being like, oh my God, this is really happening. I put something very vulnerable out into the world. And at the time, I still had not fully worked on that identity piece, that limiting belief of I can write. I am an author. I still had some of those self-doubts when I hit launch and publish. I even was talking to my daughter this morning before speaking here, and I said, do you get butterflies before you speak in front of the class? And she said, yeah. It's one of those things. It's the natural process. And I just want to share, like, I was receiving all these messages like, congratulations, you must be so proud. You're excited. Like, how exciting is this? And it was beautiful. The support was amazing. The question of how are you celebrating? And literally, I just wanted to like curl up, have a nap, and have the heating pad on me. But I will say that passed. That passed, and all these beautiful opportunities came. I started to see my book sales climb. I reached bestseller and hot new release categories on Amazon. So I kept sharing that on social media. Through that, I ended up getting some new coaching clients. I've been invited to do author talks and any sort of like workshop conference talks. I was on the radio a couple times doing radio interviews. I have been in magazine articles, news articles, and podcasts. So these are some doors that can open for you if you were ever considering sharing your nonfiction book or writing your story with the world to help others. There is this ripple effect. And like I said, the people, when they hear my story, some of them relate to my grief journey, and they relate and they want to connect about my coaching products and services. And others are so curious about the book writing journey. And in both of those cases, again, if I'm rooting to my vision of the empowerment ripple effect, I'm working with that one person that then ripples through to their family and impacts our whole community. So that's why I think it's so important to share how I wrote my book in 30 days. A lot of the stories I have been receiving is, I've been writing my book for years. It's been sitting on my computer. What if an editor comes and changes all of my work that I've done, or they change my story? What if it goes out there and, people pass judgment on me? Cyberbullying, things like that happen. With success, guess what? You get people that are so happy for you and push you up. You also can experience people being a little critical about you, right? Or you're sharing your story. And if you're doing one from a very vulnerable place, like I was sharing my story of being in love with an alcoholic, right? And then my husband passing away, and how I moved into being all of a sudden, now I'm a solo parent. I'm a widow. I'm in my 30s. How do you navigate that? How do you connect with your resources? How do you, what I say is build team Allison to support? So when you're thinking about writing your book and you want to get that into the world, you want to share that with people. For me, I like things very efficient. I like things simple. I think things straightforward, super efficient, right? So what this is an online challenge. The way I found it was I was actually scrolling through Instagram. We were near one of our lockdowns, COVID lockdowns, actually. And I had my coaching clients postpone their programs because they had to be at home and work and take care of their children and all of this stuff. So life felt a little chaotic. So they postponed the coaching program. So I had a little bit of time on my hand, I guess. I don't know. I was still at home. I had my children here. I'm self-employed entrepreneur. And again, a solo parent. So I don't know. I saw the book writing challenge ad on Instagram, and my son for years had been saying, "Mom, you should write a book. Mom, you should write a book." And I kept saying, no, that's not me. I don't write books. I write memos, emails. I do spreadsheets, point form. Who wants to hear my story, right? And then also there were some fears coming up also, would I hurt any of my loved ones by sharing this story? So anyway, spontaneously, I clicked that link. I joined the email challenge, and I've got to say, part of it was because I didn't believe it was actually possible. And I was kind of like, prove it, Joshua. Let's see. Let's see if you can write a book in 30 days. And yeah, he definitely showed me, I guess, proved me wrong. So what it was is I received emails daily, primarily Monday through Friday, and there would be an assignment. And literally, I would just set out 2 hours each morning. I would get up. I'm an early girl, get up at 5 a.m. So from 5 to 7 a.m., I would open the email, I'd work on the assignment, and then I would go on with my day with being a mom and running my business and taking care of the house and all that stuff. So literally, when I say I wrote my book in less than 30 days, I will tell you now, I wrote my draft manuscript in 10 days. And that wasn't all day. That was 2 hours every day for 10 days. It's, yeah, like I said, I would not even believe it if I didn't actually do it. That first week was a lot of the planning, the outline, trying to wrap your head around your ideas type of thing. But once I started writing, and it took me a day or two to get into my flow state of writing, it just poured out of me. And I have a feeling that if you as well have that story that you have been, wanting to share, and you feel it's a learning experience for others, or people could experience growth and healing from it, that it will just pour out of you naturally as well. If you have a little bit of structure, right? Some clear, simple instructions and a time frame, you may really amaze yourself with what can happen. One thing I also loved about the book writing challenge is that it addressed limiting beliefs. When you're looking at procrastinating or you're getting stuck on things and you start to dive in a little bit to see like why that is, right? And then there were also instructions and there were subsequent programs you could purchase to work with Joshua to do the self-publishing. And I chose to do the self-publishing on Amazon. And I'll be honest, like it was very straightforward. Once you learn the steps, the actual tasks of writing the book, hiring the editor, getting the book cover design, that type of thing, the actual tasks were very straightforward to me. I'll even dare to say felt simple, felt easy. Now, the parts where I got hung up were the editing. I started to overthink and judge myself. Before I launched, like I shared, I got very nervous about being judged, hurting people. Even I was a little nervous about success. Like, what if this kind of tidal waves my life and I don't have time to take care of my family, my children? That is one of the biggest fears that come up for me, is that I would be so overwhelmed by work or attending to others that I wouldn't make time for my family. And I'm just sharing some of these deep down feelings I'm having. Logically, when I say them out loud, I know that I will make time for my children. I know that I would do that. But those are the types of fears that when I say addressing limiting beliefs, so that you releasing those fears, identifying those fears, so that you can actually validate them. Like, is that true? Is that happening now? Or is this old story? Right? So that you can take those steps to move forward with what you want to accomplish. Oh, I guess I didn't share with you. If you are interested in learning more about the 30-day book writing challenge, or you want to receive the links so that you can check it out and register, just send me an email. It's allisoncoaches@gmail.com. And I will send you that link and you'll go directly to Joshua to find that out if that's something you want to explore. So I've shared this a little bit. It's like, why did I write a book? I've shared I was not an author. Even in high school and in school, I was math and science. I took English in high school because it was a requirement to get into the university I wanted to for engineering, if I'm totally honest. Could I write? Can I write? Sure. Yeah. I've learned that I can, but I had that belief that I was a math and science girl. That was drilled into me. I did not really passionately, at the time, I was not journaling, as a kid, and that I didn't keep a diary. That creative writing or essays or even critical writing, any of those things, I really struggled with. And I really had to push myself to do that type of work. It was something I would leave to the last minute because it felt uncomfortable for me. So why would I step into something that felt so uncomfortable? Well, first of all, doing it in Joshua's method didn't feel uncomfortable. Did I have moments of uncomfortable? Yes, definitely. Different challenges. It is called a challenge. But literally, the steps were very simple to follow. And what I found, the reason I stepped in was, first of all, I didn't believe it was possible. Didn't think it could happen, right? So I was challenging my own limiting beliefs. I'm not an author. I can't write. Again, I'm math and science only. I'm task-oriented. I don't have creative flow. No one can do this in 30 days. Writing a book takes years. And then you've got to get a publisher to find you or an editor to support you. And all of these stories around why I wasn't going to do it. Well, I'm so happy I clicked that button, because literally the way it was broken down felt so simple to me. And then I saw all of these benefits trickling through in my life. So writing this book definitely helped support my grieving journey. When I look back, so the Allison that's here with you today, I think back to the Allison a year ago when I was writing this book, or even when I flip through the pages or read it, there's been some layers peeled off, right? That's still Allison in there. None of that's made up. Like that's my truth. That's my story. But it almost feels like an older version of myself, that there was almost like a layer peeled off, and I stepped out. I stepped out of that, and now I'm open to these opportunities. It's also just been able to give me this platform within my profession that has established some credibility, right? So sharing your book is a very easy marketing tool. People love authors, like whether they're going to work with you or not. My book is relatively short, right? It's around 100 pages. So, it's something that people have some take-home messages, and it's written in a story form, right? It's sharing that personal story. And again, that's how we learn, heal, and grow. The other thing that sort of anchored it to me is that as a life coach, and even just as a mom, as a person in the world, I believe in leading by example. If I'm going to ask someone to be vulnerable, if I'm going to ask someone to connect with their core values, stay true, provide inspiration and empowerment to other people, I have to lead by example. I have to do that hard stuff too, or that stuff that feels uncomfortable. And I truly live by that. Even with my children, my young children, it's not, what mama says goes, all this stuff. Like, no, like I lead by example. And I also recognize that they have their own journey, and some things they're going to pick out of my life, right, to carry with them, but they also have their own unique journeys. So that was a big piece for me, especially professionally, because again, in life coaching, we're asking you to bring up those fears. Let's identify them. Let's acknowledge them. Let's see if these are actually true. How are they impacting your current relationships? That type of thing, your current life of what you want to create. And does it actually correspond to what's happening today, or where you want to go? And what is that next step you're going to take? So again, I leaped off the cliff first, I guess, and started sharing my story. So yeah, so many personal and professional benefits of writing this book. So I've talked about this lots so far, is this whole fear busting. So I call it fear busting technique that I share in Restoring Inner Peace within my book. It's called the Transform by Love 4-Step Action Plan. Now, I actually say that I'm fear busting, like I'm fighting fears all day long, like all the time. Almost every decision I make, there's like a back check as to, does this align with my beliefs? Now, I don't always feel that consciously happening. Like sometimes that's in my subconsciousness, because it's just programmed in there from being a kid. But yeah, some of these things do come up and they'll make me pause. So when they make me pause, I started to realize I was going through a pattern. And this pattern was helping me address these fears, release them, and move forward with empowered action. So the steps I use the acronym LOVE. So L is look inward. O is observe feelings, V is validate options, and E is take empowered action. Empowered action. So an example of this for the book writing challenge, which I'll say is, let's say I'm going to hire an editor, right? And I'm freaking out because like I've kept this book to myself on my computer. The only person who's seen the manuscript is me. The only one who's heard this story in entirety from this perspective in these words is me. And now I'm going to send it into the world. I'm going to send my baby out into the world. And I'm actually asking someone to judge it. So that's scary, right? You're like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen with this? So again, if I go through these steps, I start to look inward and I'm like, wow, like I'm feeling really uncomfortable about sending this to an editor. But if I don't send it to an editor, I guess, you know, there could be mistakes or whatever, who knows? But yeah, I wanted to send it to an editor. I wanted fresh eyes to look at it. Again, I didn't identify as an author. I wanted someone to do spell check, punctuation, grammar, consistency and flow in my document. So I started to look into that and I was feeling things in my chest. So this even goes a little bit into, observing the feelings in my throat. Like I said, I was putting my baby out into the world. So it threatened these things of like safety. Like, am I going to be judged? My belonging, are people going to respect me as a person, as a mother, as a life coach in my new profession? Is my family going to be hurt by any of this stuff? Is this editor going to steal my story? All of these things are running through and I'm like, okay, what is my greatest fear here? Right? And it was that sense of being accepted, I think, right? And then also being altered, like having my truth actually shared. So when I move into the step V, validate my options. So I have a few options, right? 1, don't send it to an editor. Who cares? They don't need to do it. There's no rule in publishing a book that it has to go to an editor. Number 2, I decided to send it to an editor that didn't know me. I didn't have any friends or family read my manuscript. I didn't want the influence of those emotional comments to come back to me to influence it. I just wanted like a third party, never heard the story, doesn't know me, just to review it as a cohesive document. So does this book flow? Do the stories flow? Is the punctuation, grammar, spelling okay? So that was an option. The other one is to go out and find like a publisher. They have editors there that will help you and to have your document, have your manuscript come out as a cohesive document. So again, for me, I decided to just go onto Fiverr. I interviewed a few editors and I sent them sample copies. I selected one and I continued to work with them. I did a developmental review process, which was like the flow of the document, cohesiveness. Is it like, I guess consolidated would be the right word. Like, is it one consistent topic, or like, is it not just Allison brain dump everywhere is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not like a sentence here, a sentence there. Like, it actually flows nicely like a story. That was the first review. The second one was called the copy edit, and that was more for the technical stuff. So that was like punctuation, grammar, spelling, sentence structure, that type of thing. And I chose to do that. But like I said, there were options. I didn't have to choose an editor. I chose to because that helped me boost my own confidence. For some reason, I wanted that step, but I've got to say it's not mandatory. And then the other one with trying to find like a publisher and an editor, I just didn't, to be honest, I didn't have the energy to go out and look for all that. And I just heard the costs are astronomical, really. Like, it was very straightforward and I feel very inexpensive to go through Fiverr with a bunch of freelance editors. And there's other opportunities like that on the internet. So from that, like I said, my empowered action was I hired a third-party editor and they supported me through it. So if you are interested in actually obtaining a copy of this Transform by Love 4-step action plan, it's a free download on my site. So when you're on my website, a little box will pop up. You can just add your email and you'll receive a copy of that. And literally, it's just a breakdown of those 4 steps, and it can help guide you through any sort of challenge, challenging situation, decision making, that type of thing. It helps you root to what you're actually feeling, have a look at what your viable options are, and then you can select which one will give you the most straightforward path to where you want to go. So here we are. We are near the end. I just wanted to share that if any of this was of interest to you and you want to connect with me, you want to find out more of my products or services. So I do have my Restoring Inner Peace, a young widow's story of being transformed by love book. That's available through my website. It will take you directly to the Amazon link. You can also sign up for my email list and get the Transform by Love 4-step action plan. That's just a free download. I think it's 3 or 4 pages, just a little introduction, and then the 4 steps broken down so that you can apply that in your life. And I'll say at first it took me a little bit to think about what step I was on, but then after practicing a few times, like, it just happens so quickly now. It's just part of my being. It happens so fast. I don't actually think, oh, I'm in step V now. Oh, I'm in step E. After doing this quite often, it just became very natural. So again, I would love if you would love to connect with me, stay connected with me. The best way is to sign up on my email list. And by doing that, you get that free download. Some of the work I do, if you're just curious, is I do one-to-one VIP coaching programs. I do that in 30-day and 90-day increments. I do author and conference talks. I'm actually a co-host of Death Cafe Quinty, which is a monthly event. So if you're curious of what a Death Cafe is, whether you want to attend or even host one in your area, send me an email or check in with me, or you can check out Death Cafe Quinty on Facebook. And that will just give you some background as to, I co-host that with my neighbor and friend, R.I.P Stewart. So if you're just, again, interested in getting one started in your community or joining us when we're online, that'd be beautiful. I'm also an essential oils educator. So if there's any interest in doTERRA essential oils or what natural pure products can do to support your overall wellness, again, reach out. And right now I'm developing some online courses. And the way to stay in contact with me or get that information would be to join my email list. I'll be sending that information out on my email list. And again, to join there, you just go to allisoncoaches.com and you can sign up right on my website. So the other component is whether you want to actually join this 30-day book writing challenge. Because like I said, if you have a story brewing in you and you think it can impact yourself and others, let's get it out there. Let's get you started and let's get it feeling simple. As I said, our limiting beliefs will already complicate it for us, right? The self-doubt and all that stuff that creeps in on our own. We're our own, worst, blocks for this type of work or work production. So let's make it simple. Let's make it easy. If you have this dream of getting a book out or even writing a book for yourself, check out the 30-Day Book Writing Challenge by Joshua Sprague. And by doing that, you can just send me an email, allisoncoaches@gmail.com, and I'll send you that link. And it's just, it's truly that simple. And after you read that, if you have any questions, you're welcome to follow up with an email, or like I said, if you have specific questions, I can go through that with you. We can set up a call. So I want to end with gratitude and appreciation. And thank you all for your time and energy. And I want to say a special thank you to our hosts, Tony Lynch from the Memories of Us podcast, and Dee Bird from Unplugged Grief Ministries podcast. And then also Nathan and Josh at Chicken Fox Productions. They've been our technical gurus supporting us all in the way. And I'd also like to just say, I'm just sending really love and energy to all the practitioners that are showing up in this conference. Thank you for your time and energy for this. I'm so happy that we are actually all creating connection by shining light into the darkness of what we call grief in our grief journeys. So again, our topic originally was restoring inner peace. So that's restoring inner peace within ourselves, to honor ourselves and honor our deceased loved ones. And I will continue my journey of restoring inner peace. I feel I deserve this, and I believe you do too. Thank you.